Hello there, kids. Today we are going to talk about fractions. So what do you mean by fractions? In basic term, a fraction refers to part of, okay? So parang it's just a small part of something that is whole, okay? Buo, okay? And it is written using a numerator and a denominator. So what is a numerator and denominator? For example, 3 over 4. 3 is actually a numerator and 4 is called a denominator. Okay. So when you say a fraction kasi no, it refers that the numerator is part of the denominator. For further illustration, our denominator represents the total. So since there's 4, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Okay? So that is our denominator. The total number of spaces, equal spaces, as much as possible kasi equal. So sorry pag hindi equal yung pagsulat ni Teacher Mark. But as much as possible, it should be equal in terms of space. Okay? Okay, since our denominator is 4, so there should be 4 parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. And numerator basically fills in the spaces. Since there are 3, since our numerator is represented by 3, which means you should shade 1, 2, 3 out of 4. So which means in a better scaling or example, if you love eating pizza, if there are 4 parts, teacher hindi maka-drawing ng straight. If there are 4 slices of pizza, no? And someone is so hungry that ate 3 out of 4 slices. 3 out of 4 slices. Meaning out of 4, parang 3/4 nga kasi, 3/4 can actually be read as 3 out of 4. So meaning there are 4 slices, 4 total. That's why nga na yung kanina sinabi ko, our denominator basically represents the total. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 3 being the numerator. So yun yung number of shaded parts. 1, 2, 3. And this basically represents the number of slices that that person ate out of this 4 slices of pizza. Okay? So yan ang basically yung representation of fractions. Okay? Basic na basic yan. Okay. Now, there are times that you need to compare two fractions. When you compare two fractions, make sure that their total, their denominator should be balanced. No? What am I trying to tell you? For example, if you are going to compare 1/2 and 3/4, your whole, yung total should be the same. Which means if you're going to draw 1/2 this big, or 1/2, 3/4 should also be drawn as much as possible, especially in terms of length, should also be the same. Question is, balance ba ang drawing ni Teacher Mark? I don't think so. Di gaano ka straight. Wait lang. I'll try to fix this first, okay? I'll be back. Okay, so I tried to fix it, no? So if you notice, what I'm trying to make a point earlier is that comparing these two, they should be well off balance, no? They should be the same in terms of whole. Parehas pa rin as a whole. Okay? So, 1 out of 2, representing 1 out of 2, or 1/2. Meaning, out of this one whole, you're going to split it into 2 equal parts. Not like this, but 2 equal parts. They should be balanced. Okay, as much as possible sa drawing nyo. Kapag hindi nyo ma-perfect yung drawing by a small differential error, okay lang yan. Acceptable lang yan. Walang problema. And for 3/4, syempre, out of 4, which means you should also make 4 equal parts. Starting with half, then taking half of the other half. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, all you need to do now is to shade. Shade lang tayo. We just need to shade 1 out of 2. We have our numerator as 1, so which means you should only shade one part. And we have 3/4. You should shade 3 out of 4. So if you notice, which represents a greater value, no? A greater fraction. Ano yung mas malaki in terms of space? Notice that our rectangles, 1, 2, have the same size. Okay, because when you are comparing two fractions, they should be of the same size. You cannot draw one fraction smaller than the other. That will not be well balanced. Okay? So dapat again, representing two fractions, they should be of the same whole. Dapat parehas ang laki. Just like to understand further, if we have a pizza and we have another one, so if you notice, dapat similar sila. Comparing their sizes, they should be the same. Even if you're going to split this in just 4, and this one, even if you're going to split this into 6, hindi balanced. So let's try to balance that out. Hindi man perfect, pero sige lang. At least at some point. Okay. Hindi pa rin ako satisfied dito. Hindi pa rin. Okay, one more. Then I need to pause the recording kung hindi pa rin. Okay. Okay, medyo satisfied na ako. So if you notice now, we were able to split into parts na naman itong two whole pizzas natin. It's just that in this case, our denominator is 4 and our denominator here is 6 because we have 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over here. Okay. So, what if I'm going to represent itong figure na to by, let's say, ito 3, then ito 5. Okay. Now, you're comparing which is bigger or which is smaller, ang 3/4 ba or ang 5/6. And now, this is a representation of 3/4 and 5/6. 3 out of 4, you should just shade 3. 1, 2, 3 out of 4. Well, in this case, you need to shade 5 out of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6. Now, if you're going to take note of that size, which it's a bigger part of the figure, okay? So, comparison yan. We are basically comparing it by using models, no? Yung model natin kailangan of the same size. You cannot draw a smaller circle compared to the other. You cannot draw a bigger circle compared to the other. You cannot draw a smaller square. Same na yan. Kahit square, pwede nyo rin naman yung gamitin. Dapat, as much as possible, they should be of the same size. You cannot compare one big to another small fraction. Figure, model. Hindi pwede. Dapat parehas. Okay? So, ganun lang kadali itong comparing nito. Although there is a shortcut for comparing fractions, no? There are certain techniques, basic and advanced. But this one is the logical one so that you will be able to see the basic of it. Okay? Yung basic understanding ng fraction na yan. Okay? Now, there are certain types of fractions that you should be familiar with, which is the similar and dissimilar fraction. So, ihati lang natin to. This is similar and the other one is dissimilar. Okay? Separate by a line lang tayo. Similar fractions are when our denominators are the same. So, ibig sabihin, if you have two fractions put together, such as, for example, 3 out of 7, the other one should have the same denominator, such as 2 out of 7 or 5 out of 7. So, if you notice, these three fractions are similar fractions because their denominators are the same. While obviously, for dissimilar fractions, it means the opposite, where their denominators are not the same. Ganun lang. Okay? So, another example ng similar fractions, meron tayo, for example, 1 over 4, 2 over 4, 4 over 4 even. Okay? And for, syempre, sa dissimilar fractions, we have, let's say, 3 over 5, 1 over 4, 1 over 2. So, if you notice, our denominators are not the same, which means they are dissimilar fractions. Okay? So, yan example ng dissimilar and similar fractions. So, why am I introducing this to you? Because you are now going to learn how to add, subtract. Teacher Mark needs to learn how to write properly. Add, subtract, similar, okay. Paano nga ba tayo mag-add and subtract similar fraction? Again, take note that we are adding and subtracting similar fractions, which means we have the same denominator. So this is actually very easy. No, this is actually very easy. Let's talk about adding muna. So which means again similar fractions tayo. So which example 3 over 5 or 3 out of 5 plus 1 over 5. Adding these two fractions, again, we are verifying that they should be similar, which means the same denominators tayo. Parehas na parehas. If you are adding similar fractions, all you need to do is just to copy your denominator. Okay? 5. In this case, it's 5, so you copy 5. And all you need to do now is just to add your numerator. 3 plus 1 is 4. Why do you need to add? Because yun ang operation involved dito. Plus. Okay? So, this is how you add similar fractions. Another example, 3 out of 7 plus 2 out of 7. So, if you notice again, our denominators are the same. So, you just need to copy your denominator and then all you need to do now here is just to add your numerators, which is in this case is 3 and 2. 3 plus 2 will give you 5. So, our final answer is 5 over 7. Ngayon, what if you'll encounter situations such as 5 over 8 plus 3 over 8? Again, if you still notice, we have the same denominators, which is in this case is 8. Kasi nga, we are adding and subtracting similar fractions. So, all you need to do now is just to add our numerators, which is 5 and 3. So, 5 plus 3 will give us 8. And if you notice that we now have a total of 8 over 8. And if you can notice, yung numerator natin at saka yung denominator natin are the same. Okay? This means that 8 over 8, or when your numerator and denominator, if they have the same value, this is equivalent to 1. Okay? Because completing the fraction, for example nga, from 1 over 8, illustrate ko na lang through a model instead. Bakit nagkaroon ng extra line? Okay, anyway. I'll try to split it in 8. Okay. So we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So, example, ito, this is just 1 over 8. Diba? 1 over 8 lang. Then, if you're gonna shade 2 more, you now have 3 over 8. Shade 3 more, 1, 2, 3, we now have 6 over 8. 6 out of 8. Shade 1 more, you now have 7 over 8. Now, if you're going to shade the last part, it now represents the whole figure, the whole model, which is one whole. That's why when you have the same numerator and denominator, it means that it is equivalent to 1. Okay? So, ganyan dapat. So, if you'll encounter 5 over 5, that's equivalent to 1. If you'll encounter 6 over 6, that's equivalent to 1. Even if you're going to reach 1 million, over 1 million, it's equivalent to 1. So, that's the logic here. Okay? Ngayon naman, subtracting tayo. Subtracting similar fractions. So, imagine you'll have 1 million parts. That's very hard to draw a model of. Okay? So, anyway, subtracting similar fractions. So, let's say we have 5 over 7 minus 3 over 7. So, again, same denominators, which means you just need to copy our denominators, which is in this case is 7, and proceed with subtracting our numerators, 5 minus 3, which is equivalent to 2. So, 5 over 7 minus 3 over 7 is equivalent to 2 over 7. So, again, parang same logic sa adding similar fractions. So, let's say we have 7 out of 10 minus 6 out of 10. Again, denominators natin are the same. So, copy lang natin. Then, 7 minus 6 is equivalent to 1. So, final answer here is 1 out of 10. So, what if now you'll encounter a situation where 4 over 8 minus 4 over 8. So, if you notice, you're subtracting an exact fraction. No? The same sila. Technically, obvious kaagad yung answer. Pero let's try to do this muna step by step. Again, denominator natin, 8 and 8. Copy lang natin. Denominator is 8. Then proceed with subtracting. 4 minus 4 is equivalent to 0. 0 over 8 is basically 0. Okay? So, ganun lang. Wala nang iba. 0. Once your numerator is 0, it is equivalent to 0. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, if further illustration of this, if there are 8 slices of pizza, weird looking pizza, sige, circle na lang natin. Okay. 8 slices. Teacher might not be able to make it perfect, pero sige lang. Just to show you the illustration. Okay. So, you have 8 slices. Then, someone ate 4 out of 8. 1, 2, 3, 4 slices out of 8. Then, the other one ate 4 out of 8 as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. What's left out of the pizza? None. Wala na. 0 out of 8 na. So, which means there's 0 pizza left. 0 slices of pizza left. Okay? So, that is the logic of fractions. Basic logic of fractions lang tayo. From shading, understanding what fractions are, comparing bigger and smaller fractions through models. Yun yung kanina ginagawa natin. Nagko-compare tayo here. And also adding and subtracting similar fractions. Okay? So, that's basically it for this week.